Hey everybody, and welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show where we give you all of the latest news from the world of movies, plus a little bit of insight into what it all means. Leading off the show today is AMC's Christian Harloff.
Uh-oh, the cuckoos are running the cabin. That's right. WrestleMania has taken John Campea away, and you're left with the three nutballs here. I am Christian Harloff, and very excited to be with you.
And also here is writer-director John Schnepp.
That's right, Campea. I hope you enjoyed your weird sweaty men throwing each other around in the squared circle, because we're here covering your ass.
And also here is AMC's Mark Ellis.
Oh, yeah. Dig it, brother. Oh, yeah.
I guess.
Well, the weekend box office results are in, and the DreamWorks family film Home took the #1 spot with $54 million. In the #2 spot, Get Hard debuted strong with just over $34 million. The third spot went to Insurgent in its second week with $22 million. In fourth place, the live-action telling of Cinderella stayed strong with $17.5 million in its third week. Rounding out the top 5 is the low-budget horror film It Follows, making just over $4 million. Christian, what stands out to you about these box office results?
A lot of stuff. There is a ton of stuff going on in these box office numbers. And the most shocking is It Follows, because the fact that it made it was number 5 at $4 million. This is a third week out. So it was like number 14 last week, and then it expanded into more theaters. More people were talking about it. It's getting a lot of buzz in the horror genre, and just as a movie in general. So to see it pop up, that's big, and that's, again, Blumhouse, man. Is that Blumhouse? No, it's not Blumhouse. Excuse me. That is not Blumhouse. That one. I'm thinking about the other one that comes out later on. But the fact that it was a smaller movie, the way that they market it was pretty awesome. Then Kingsman finally getting knocked out. It was a bummer, but eventually it had to happen. But it was number 6. And then I can't believe Home made as much as it did. That movie being at the #1, and It Follows did better than I thought it should. So there were a lot of things in there that I went, wow, that's a pretty interesting week. But Mark, what do you think?
How does Home make $54 million and I didn't see one commercial for it? Like, I didn't know this movie was coming. If I wasn't in this world, I would not have known this movie comes out. I didn't see any ads for it. I didn't see a trailer for it. And the thing makes over $50 million. That's just the power of cartoons and families wanting to go see something together. Get Hard, I think, is exactly what I thought it would do. You have two of the biggest comedy superstars on the planet today. You're going to make a lot of money. The most shocking thing to me is Insurgent with $22 million is pretty for a film that wasn't that well reviewed. To make $22 million in your second weekend, I know it's got a lot of fans from the novels, but that impressed me as well. And then, of course, I'm thrilled that It Follows, which is a small horror movie. I got to see it. I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad that it's nice to see a movie get word of mouth, and it expands into more theaters, and people want to go see it. So to have that crack the top 5, I think is a big move.
Schnipp?
Yeah, It Follows is my favorite news of this weekend's top 5, just because it's a small horror film. Word of mouth has been like just all over the place. I haven't seen it yet, but I can't wait to see it because everyone I know is like, have you seen It Follows? I said, not yet, don't tell me about it. But that's the kind of thing where it's like, that's why it's in the top 5, and that's why it expanded to more and more theaters. So very happy about that. Kind of bummed that the Kingsman lost its battle between 4 and 5 and 4 and 5.
Man. It was a beast.
I know.
I think it won the battle overall.
Right.
Yeah.
It might come back next week, 5. But who knows? Even if it doesn't, yeah, it definitely won the battle. So that's the best news. Home, shocking, surprising. I'm sure Katzenberg is like resting easy tonight or this whole weekend. He was like, because he had a lot to prove with this movie. A lot of things were riding on this film. They already had the Netflix series. They had everything already pre-sold for this movie. It had to be a hit, and then it didn't get the greatest reviews, but it's still a big hit. So
it also shows the fact that because there's not a lot to see for kids right now, there really isn't. So when Cinderella, obviously, and most people have seen Cinderella. I took my daughter to see Home. That's probably what a lot of people did. There hasn't been a lot of kids' movies out so far, so it's like, okay, we can get the kids out. Let's go have them see it. It doesn't matter at that point what the critics say for that film. It really doesn't, and that proved to be the fact. But I'll tell you what, get out of the way because cars and explosions are coming this weekend and everything. You're going to see big drop-offs from everything coming out.
It'll be interesting to see what Home does in the second weekend because I think we all know Furious 7 is going to be #1. But for Home to, if that holds strong in the second week, you're talking about a franchise opportunity. That's when you really start to make those phone calls.
Real quick, what does everybody think, prediction time, what Fast will do this weekend?
I think 150.
150 opening weekend. Wow.
I don't think it's doing 150. I think it's doing over 100 though. I think it'll be like 105, 110.
That's a good one, but just to be different, I'll say 95. But I wouldn't be surprised if 105 is it. All right, Ashley, what's next?
The first teaser trailer for James Bond's 24th adventure, Spectre, dropped on Friday. In the trailer, we get our first semi-glimpse at Christoph Waltz as the baddie, as well as some interesting ties to the previous Craig Bond films. The film also stars Dave Bautista, Ralph Fiennes, Monica Bellucci, Naomi Harris, and Lea Seydoux. The film is the 24th installment in the spy franchise. Mark, what are your thoughts on the Spectre teaser trailer?
My thoughts are that Mission Impossible threw down the gauntlet last week with their trailer, and this answered the bell. This trailer was fantastic. This is the teaser I want, especially when you consider Christoph Waltz has a chance to be one of the great Bond villains that we've ever seen, just from that one shot. The only thing I've seen of him is when he welcomes Mr. Bond, you know? And it's like, oh my God, this is the all-time Bond villain. It got that classic James Bond feel, plus with the new Daniel Craig versions, what they've been able to do. And going back into the history of James Bond, I like seeing the Aston Martin one time. I like that he still seems on this quest to find out more about his past, and now we're going into the future and uncovering the fact that Spectre is a thing that exists and we need to stop it. Christoph Waltz was the standout of this trailer to me, and he was in it for 2 seconds.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't like this trailer at all. Christoph Waltz, to me, I still have like a bitter taste from Big Eyes. Like his overacting ruined that movie. And I know he won an Oscar.
Eyes?
Yeah, it was horrible. So I'm just like, it's like, you know, and then everything about this kind of has that like, I have to find out about my past. I was like, look, we just found out about all your past. That was called Skyfall. I don't need to see another movie about Bond trying to scrimp around and find out about his past. I was bored by the trailer, to be quite honest with you. So, I mean, I guess I had other expectations when oh, Spectre dropped. It's just the teaser. So I'm hoping the full trailer, you see a lot more, because this one just didn't do it for me.
That's a selfish snap. I'm going to be the tiebreaker, and I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy it big. I think that for me, I agree with you. I think that what it did was, look, for the Daniel Craig Bond films have had that strange, almost like Bourne feel when it started, from the first movie, and then it's progressed into the old Bond that we've known with the gadgets and like you said, the car and all that. I felt the marriage of that the most in this teaser trailer that I've seen so far, because with the characters, and it looks like with Spectre coming back and some of the older classic Bond villains coming back, I actually really enjoy the fact that they're going to go back and find more about it, because it does, bringing up the Bourne example as well too, the arc in the 3 Bourne movies was finding out who he was, what it was, and it wasn't just one particular who am I? It was more people that he met, more organizations he had to deal with, more fights, more explosions, more villains. So and that's certainly what I got out of this trailer. So I'm pretty excited for this movie, more so than I was before. Not that I wasn't, but just even more now.
Yeah, and Skyfall felt like the Bond going back into his own personal history, and I think that that's going to tie up pretty neatly, pretty quickly in this new film. And I think you're going to get him looking at the history of his agencies and this evil, mysterious Spectre thing. I think that's what you're going in this movie for. So I think the trailer set that up pretty well. I didn't need to see a lot of action in this. I'm glad we didn't see a lot of action. I don't like when they give away the big action sequences in a trailer. I just need to see who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, and we got 2 really good ones.
I just want to see something that reminds me of Bond, and this movie teaser didn't remind me.
That end shot when it's like panning over, and then you see all those dudes sitting at the table.
What about the music in the background? Like, nothing, huh?
No, it just,
wow,
you know.
All right, guys. We reached that part of the show. It is buy or sell. Pretty easy how this works. The Movinator is going to read down some topics, what's going on in the movie
sell
news.
That name.
You like that? You sell that name. And we at the table are pretty much going to buy or sell. Yeah, that's it. Buy or sell. And here we go.
Following up on Ryan Reynolds' tweet sharing the look of Deadpool, Fox released an official synopsis on the film's website. Based upon Marvel Comics' most unconventional anti-hero, Deadpool tells the origin story of former Special Forces operative turned mercenary Wade Wilson, who, after being subjected to a rogue experiment that leaves him with accelerated healing powers, adopts the alter ego Deadpool. Armed with his new abilities and a dark, twisted sense of humor, Deadpool hunts down the man who nearly destroyed his life. Schnepp, buy or sell the synopsis for Deadpool?
Yeah, I buy it, man. I think Deadpool's gonna hunt down Rothman, that former president of Fox who ruined his possible career in X-Men Origins. That's what he's hunting down. It's gonna be a real meta, kind of almost documentary style movie. I totally 100% buy this. I am very excited that this is a reality and that they're shooting it, and they've got like the Burt Reynolds Deadpool photo from last week. So it's going in the right direction. So I totally buy the synopsis.
Yeah, I buy it as well. I think that, and we talked about this on Friday, you can tell that everyone involved really knows this property. And Schnepp, you and I, just before we started filming, you were talking about your film with Superman, of people who don't get the mythology and the characters of certain things. When you're nervous sometimes when those people get their hands on it. This doesn't seem the case. It does the last time they put him on screen, but this time with everything that we're seeing so far, with both the picture, the Burt Reynolds picture, the comedy behind it, that test footage, this synopsis. Now it's like, okay, we know what you guys wanted from the character. We're going to give that to you because, and I know there's a lot of stuff going on in regards to will it be PG-13? Will it fit the Deadpool rated R? I think it's going to be PG-13 because of the next story that we're going to get to in a little bit here. I think there's a lot more in store for Deadpool in the X-Men universe, but that's me. Mark?
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds had a cool tweet about how he's fighting to keep it. I retweeted it this morning because he's like, oh, no, I'm really fighting the good fight. We're going to see what happens. There was a lot of shouting this morning over whether it should be PG-13 or R. Either way, I'm going to buy the synopsis because it sounds like they're sticking true to what the comic book character was. And I think anytime when you're making a movie adaptation, you need the freedom to be able to do your own thing with it, but Wolverine Origins just completely ruined that because they took, like, you look at Wolverine and Sabretooth, they're brothers, and you look at what happened with the Deadpool character just in the context of that movie and how Gambit was wasted. So that movie did a lot of things wrong. I think sometimes when you have a film come out that is just so bad and just takes a character such in the wrong direction, you can actually learn from your mistakes. So this Deadpool, everybody who's involved with this film can look at that and say that's what is not going to happen this time. I think they're doing it right.
Yeah, I do too. It's just it like you said, you feel right when they have it, and I can't wait. And we're not even that far away. It's shooting now, so I'm excited.
But I know you're a big, R, like if something's supposed to be R, you'd think it needs to be rated R. Do you feel that way? Will you guys be nervous if Deadpool is PG-13?
Yes, just because I'm nervous because of what they did the last time to the character. But yeah, because this is a character that really needs the language and the ultra violence, and there's ways to do it and make it work. But the reason why I can see them going PG-13 is, like I said, I think he's going to transition into the other films. And if you're Fox, you want more people to see him in a mass universe to see him, so you can stick him in the X-Men universe.
Honestly, I think they should just bleep all this. They should just
make
it all swear words, make it as hard language as possible, and then just bleep all of it. Because it's actually really funny. We did it for years with Metalocalypse. You never knew what they were swearing, and it actually made it funnier. In fact, one time we did like 30 bleeps in a row. It was just like a rant filled with swear words.
Yeah, because that could work because he breaks the fourth wall anyway.
Exactly. So I think they could keep the language and just bleep it.
But what about when if he transfers over, it's say like in the next X-Men film after Apocalypse?
He's still bleeped.
He's still bleeped even during...
I would keep it,
Yeah.
Like, he's, I don't know. I'm just saying. It's like, it could work.
Yeah. All right, Ashley, what's next?
In more X-Men universe news, it looks like the era of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine may very well be at an end. Jackman took to his personal Instagram account a picture of his hand with the Wolverine claw, stating, "Wolverine one last time." Director James Mangold followed this up by confirming that this was indeed for Wolverine 3, and it was the last ride. Christian Bale saw Wolverine 3 being announced, and that this is actually the last time we will see Jackman as Wolverine.
I will buy both of those. I say that, obviously he's going to be in Apocalypse. We know that already. And then you see that Claw, he's been talking about it forever. The guy has been Wolverine for a very long time. It's time he's allowed a break or an end, depending on how you want to do it. I don't know where they're going to go. I still think it could kind of be interesting with Old Man Logan and putting Mel Gibson in there, but who knows? But you go from him being the last time. Yeah, I think that he's deserves it. If he wanted to go out 3 movies ago, I think everybody should have been okay with it. But he's dedicated himself to this role. He gets himself in shape. He never. He always commits to it 100%. So yeah, I want to see in Wolverine 3. I'm curious what James Mangold is in regards to Wolverine 3. They had teased this before that this was going to happen, so I don't think it's a big surprise, but it's nice to get the actual confirmation now that Wolverine 3 is going down. I would like to see... that's a movie I would love to see R. Never going to happen, but I'd love to see that one R, because the unrated version of the Wolverine was pretty awesome, I thought. But yeah, I absolutely buy both of these things. Schnepp?
I'm going to sell it. I think he's still going to be Wolverine. I think they shouldn't call this Wolverine 3 either, because it's actually Wolverine 2.
Right.
Because Wolverine Origins doesn't count.
Right.
So it's like, look, he's filming Apocalypse right now, and then he's going to do Wolverine, whatever it's going to be called, 3, but whatever they're going to call it. You know that Bryan Singer's going to do a third X-Men movie. I think Wolverine's going to be in it. I think Hugh Jackman, maybe a smaller role, but he'll be in it. And I'm sure if this new Wolverine does really well, that they will revisit it and they will do Old Man Logan and he'll play Wolverine. He's just saying one last time as Wolverine 3, but maybe the next one will be called Old Man Logan.
So you don't think this is necessarily a confirmation of him saying no more Wolverine at all?
I think it's a confirmation. If you just look at the fist, it's number 3. That's why he's got he's just saying one last time we're doing it. We're doing Wolverine 3. That'll probably be the end of that trilogy, but
interesting.
Yeah, I think the physical toll that it takes on Hugh Jackman to play this role, it's like Joss Whedon's complained about how exhausted he is from directing one of these movies, and he just has to sit there and call action. Hugh Jackman, what that guy has to go through to become Wolverine, he's a fit dude anyway, but to get to the shape of Wolverine takes it to a completely another level. So I think that eventually you're going to see him not be the center point of an X-Men film, or especially a Wolverine film. I think that I'm going to sell this as Hugh Jackman ever being Wolverine again. You're going to see him in Apocalypse. You're going to see him in Wolverine 3. I think you're going to see him play Logan again after that. But I think this might be the last time that he is the central figure in a film.
Are you happy that Wolverine 3 itself is coming out?
Am I happy?
Yeah, I mean the fact that
I'll see this guy mow his lawn. I'll see this guy do anything, and I think that it'd be I'm like, after Wolverine, I want to see more of that character, more of that tone. So I'm glad that Mangold's returning too, and I think that it's always exciting to see a character that you love on screen in his own movie, in a standalone.
Right.
And I think that that's what this tweet means, is that it's the last Wolverine movie you're going to see with him in it. He might pop into X-Men movies from time to time. Maybe they even do some sort of weird like time-space continuum thing where you have a new Wolverine that gets ushered in from old Wolverine, something like that. But I don't think it's the last time you're ever going to see him be Wolverine. Maybe the last time he stars in a Wolverine film.
Yeah, I'll just add that I hope that they fix a few of the problems with the Wolverine movie that Mangold did, where like it was great all the way up until Viper and that Silver Samurai showed up, and then it was a different movie. The last 20 minutes was like, what happened to what was going to be a great film? So
I totally agree with you also, because that to me felt like studio soup, meaning that it's like, well, guys, you got a great. We've brought in a couple more cooks here, and they've got some ingredients. He's been working at some back alley lot. And
here's this gal right out of a cosplay convention.
And she needs a tongue here. It's just so
giant silver samurai guy. It's going to be all CG. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought it was such a good, solid, small kind of movie with a real character, and then the end was just like, we need an X-Men movie. It's got to feel like X-Men, and it fell apart. So I hope not. Excuse me, fall apart strong. I actually thought it was still a solid movie.
Yeah, the climax just left me a little cold.
Because of how good, like that scene when he's walking through it and the shit out of the comics when all the ninjas are hitting him, that was great. However, I think that if they put together this next one and the studio can stay out of it again and let Mangold do his thing, I'm very curious to see what happens in the third one.
Yeah.
All right, Ashley, what's next?
The trailer for the upcoming Antoine Fuqua-directed Southpaw hit the internet on Friday. The film stars Jake Gyllenhaal as a championship fighter who finds his life thrown into chaos after a tragedy strikes. The film also stars Rachel McAdams and Rita Ora and hits AMC theaters on July 31st, 2015. Mark, what are your thoughts on the Southpaw trailer?
I think the movie looks great, and I'm very disappointed in the trailer because I think it gave away entirely too much of the film. There's a plot point that if you haven't seen the trailer for Southpaw, I don't think you should watch the trailer. If you're interested in this movie, all you need is that still that you just got a Jake Gyllenhaal. That's what your movie is. It's going to be a tour de force acting performance, but it seems almost like they know that this movie is going to be an Oscar contender, and that's the only leg that they're using to stand on. It's like, oh no, Jake Gyllenhaal is going to give a great performance, but they already showed us everything that this dude is going through. So now you're just going to the movie to see what kind of an actor he is, as opposed to getting involved in a story and getting surprised and really feeling the emotional weight. I mean, again, it's going to be. I think it's going to be a great movie, but this trailer really disappointed me with how much they gave away.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think the trailer ruins the film, not only in certain plot points, but tells you the entire movie.
Yeah.
From beginning to the end. It's ridiculous. And that's one of my biggest complaints with movie trailers I know studios over time have these like weird, censuses and figure out like, well, if we add this and show this and show this. So they always do it like started with Men in Black, where they showed that giant spaceship, the very ending of Men in Black. That's where I remember first seeing like, I can't believe they just showed the ending of the movie. then they started doing that with every giant blockbuster film since then, because they were like, look, that trailer worked, and if you show these big scenes, it's just a thing. And now you have an independent film like this, basically spoon feeding you the entire movie and all the story beats and emotional beats. It's ridiculous, and it's embarrassing. I think you should take the trailer down, recut it, and just highlight Jake Gyllenhaal if that's who you think you're trying to sell the audience to, because this made me very uninterested in seeing the film. I was like, wow, I just saw it. What, am I going to go see the 90-minute expanded version? I just add water and it becomes a 90-minute thing of what I just saw. And I think I could figure out the ending. I'm a grown-up. So, yeah, I sell it even though I want to see the film. And I think Jake Gyllenhaal is an incredible actor. It's Alicia Malone's future husband. It's like he deserves better than this trailer. So
I agree with you guys. I'm going to sell it also. Not that I'm selling the movie. Like Shinab said, I really want to see this movie. Nightcrawler was one of my favorites last year. Gyllenhaal, I still believe, should have been nominated for an Oscar last year. And you're right, Mark, is the fact that this is a movie that they're saying, well, we got Gyllenhaal, and he was so great in Nightcrawler. Look how great he's going to be in this. And to go off Schnepp's point, and here's the whole movie to show you that he's going to be in it. He's going to be so great in it. Here's the story, and here's exactly what's going to happen. Now come watch him act in it. And it's like there is. I don't want to ruin it for anybody. That's really how the spoilers for the trailer, that it gives away such a big plot point that if you go and watch it, you're gonna be like, oh, really? That happens? If that happens, then I know exactly kind of where
plot points. Yeah. Like literally, it's really like you just shrunk the movie down into a trailer.
Now look, what it really is though, you get to that point when you start there, you're like, okay, so that's where he starts. That's where he's going. Oh, that happens, and then after that happens, oh, then he's got to go there because that's a big thing that he's gonna have. That's an obstacle he needs to get through. Then he's gonna have to get there, and eventually he gets there. That's literally the trailer, and you see it, and you're like, well, no, like what could possibly happen? I mean, what, Ultron comes in and fights him in the middle of that? If you don't see that,
alien invasion.
Yeah, okay, maybe that's
the
what
thing,
it is.
which I would pay to see. And judging by that picture, he looks like he could take on some aliens. But I mean, so playing devil's advocate, yes, maybe there is something else. We've seen 2 minutes of this movie, so maybe there are a couple other plot points.
But what is the thing? That's so hard.
Maybe we don't see coming. And I also understand that this is not something like Spectre, where it's got a built-in fan base already. So Spectre didn't have to show us anything. They show us one shadowy figure of Christoph Waltz. We're like, oh, I can't wait to see that movie. Southpaw needs to show you some stuff, but you didn't need to show us this much.
No, I think that you could, especially for a boxing movie, it's like you show a couple of the fights, show the relationship with his daughter, show the relationship with his wife, show that he's kind of has to go through a lot of adversity in his life. Show that stuff.
We know there's going to be stuff he deals with.
It's a boxing movie.
Show us the stuff that he deals with.
You know, Jake Gyllenhaal's such a great actor. You could just do a trailer with him in the backseat of a cab all bloodied and stuff, and you just hear the sound effects of the ring, and you could just do an entire 1 minute thing with just his face and Southpaw. That would be a trailer. That would be exciting.
Yeah, well, it's funny because Eminem was actually up for this role.
Really?
Everyone he was supposed to do it, I think, too, and it's you can see him actually why he would have been a good fit for this, but Gyllenhaal's going to bring something special to it. I mean, going on the positive side, he's going to bring something very special. I don't know if I necessarily needed to. It didn't ruin anything for me, but I didn't know what level fighter he was in the trailer, and the fact to see he's a champion. He's a champion. Yeah. So to see him go, it almost reminded me like Rocky 3. There's elements of Rocky 3. So the movie itself, I'm still very excited to see. I just wish they wouldn't give it that much away. All right, now it is time for Mailbag. Mailbag's pretty easy. You guys have submitted questions throughout the week. You submitted it to AMC Movie Talk at gmail.com. And throughout the week, pick some questions. By the way, you can submit at any time. Submit them. You can either get an answer here or on Mailbag the show. But Ashley, what is the first question up today?
Brandon Johnson wrote, hey everybody, I really been missing big Kung Fu movies. The Raid 2 was awesome, yes, but it seems like Kung Fu movies are non-existent right now. Movies like Jackie Chan or Jet Li would be in. We don't have a big Kung Fu star anymore. What are your thoughts on why no big Kung Fu star and why no big nationwide Kung Fu movies being made anymore?
Schnepp, you were reacting to that pretty hard.
Yeah, I just don't know what planet you live on, dude. I mean, there's a million amazing Kung Fu movies that come out all the time. They just don't get released here in the United States of America. Remember, this is a giant planet with a lot of other countries. Donnie Yen, Iceman, check it out. You got Grandmaster. That was actually released last year here in the States. There's a ton of movies that are made all the time. In fact, not even the greatest films, but you have one of the Wu-Tang guys. He's got the Man in Iron Fist 2.
RZA, yeah.
They've already shot that. So, I mean, there's a lot of action and Kung Fu films happening all the time. You just have to look for it, not in theaters here in America, unfortunately, because it's such a limited amount of people who go see them nowadays, you know, I mean, that's just the truth. So you have to hit it up on VOD, look online and search for Kung Fu films 2015. You'll find a ton of them.
But I think that's where Brandon was going, though, because even when Bruce Lee and Van Damme, when Van Damme was out, there were also tons and tons of other ones that obscure ones, not obscure, but ones that a lot of people in the mainstream didn't know about. So I think what Brandon's kind of getting at too is that there is really no mainstream Kung Fu star right now, because Schnapp's absolutely right. You can find a ton of these movies. They're always being made, but there hasn't been that guy, the Jet Li's, the Jackie Chan's, that has really, I don't want to say stepped up, but has knocked into the mainstream the way that those dudes did. Will it happen again? Yes. And I want to hopefully cross my fingers that Tarantino will be the guy that brings in some more Kung Fu movies and do like a big one the way he did with some Western. I mean, he did it kind of with Kill Bill, so to see that. But there hasn't been that star yet recently.
Well, you had Tony Jaa as well. I wanted to bring him up. He's got a brand new movie coming out. So there's people, you just have to, you know, look for them. They're
do you
all
think
there.
mainstream? Who do you think could transfer over to the mainstream though?
Well, when you say mainstream, you mean U.S. market. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like, who's going to transfer over? I don't know.
Could someone transfer over, I guess?
Yeah, I think Tony Jaa or Donnie Yen could easily transfer over.
But you also look at like when Van Damme came out and when Jackie Chan crossed over to the Americas with Rumble in the Bronx in the mid-'90s and Jet Li. That was back in a time when stars opened movies more so than the film itself.
Yes.
And now with the advent of big blockbuster comic booky movies taking over at theaters, it's like one of the things that kind of gets left out in the cold is that middle action movie that doesn't have a huge budget but still has one big star that's going to lead it. And so now look at a guy like Jason Statham, who now is part of a franchise with Furious 7. That's his biggest movie. And so I think the fact that the poster has the movie as opposed to the star in the movie, that's the foot that they're leading with. That's why you don't see as many crossover. But when you do, like when you get the Raid or the Raid 2, we all love it. So
and the Raid and Raid 2 are movies that have kind of pushed over a little bit because those are smaller foreign films, not in the mainstream, and they have transferred over too from word of mouth and from great Blu-ray
And
sales.
you mentioned the Raid 2. Here's a big thing. When these films like the Raid 2 play in theaters here in America, go pay for it.
Yes, absolutely.
Because that's what tells the studios that we're interested in seeing these films. You have to actually actively go to the theater and see the film. The Raid 2 was a very tiny release. We talked about it. We implored everyone, go see this movie. It's up to you to make that decision. Like, I'm going to wait until it's on Netflix. Then it's partially your fault. You have to actually show them the money so that they'll be like, oh, okay, they want more of this, we'll bring that there. We're not going to just make a remake like The Raid's getting remade. We'll actually show you the actual original film from the country of its origin, and you're just going to enjoy it.
And those guys will get work because of it. And look at Star Wars. I mean, why do you think those guys got start with it? They're choreographing The Force Awakens, the fights and stuff too, and they're going to be in. A lot of those guys from the Raid 2 are going to be in that movie. So, that could be something big for them too. If there's some incredible, we don't know what those guys are doing. So if they have some scene that just knocks everybody, it's going to be one of the biggest movies on the planet. And then they're like, well, who's that guy? Let's have that guy do a movie. Maybe one of those guys from the Raid 2. So your initial question, I know you brought up the Raid and Raid 2, but those guys could be the next guys.
Yes, in fact,
support your local Kung Fu franchise.
yeah,
that's right.
You're going to see the Raid 3 have a much bigger opening because of Star Wars, because of them.
The Raid 3 could have lightsabers in it, guys.
All right, Ashley, what's next?
David Chatsy wrote, hello and good day to my fellow film nerds. I've been watching the show Turn, which I'm really digging, and it constantly pesters me with the question, why haven't we seen many films set during the American Revolution? The Patriot is such a great film, but that was nearly 15 years ago. I know these kinds of movies are expensive, but there has to be a large interest for them. I'm especially wanting a film based on the actual 1776 events, but I'll settle for something in the same vein. Thoughts?
I love this question. I could not agree more. This is an era I would love to see more films in. They've been doing it a lot on TV. I mean, like he mentioned with Turn, but look at the John Adams miniseries that was on HBO.
It was fantastic.
It was great. I would like to see more in that, because The Patriot was a really good movie, and I think that to see it happen now with the actors and the talent that we have now, because as generations grow up, a lot of people do get their history from movies, whether or not you want to say read a book or not, or go see them. People get their history from movies. And to be able to see a really good, entertaining, I mean, look what Lincoln did for that time period.
Yeah, he was like a vampire hunter, right, guys?
Yes, absolutely.
Weird.
I didn't
always
even
thought
know that he
strange.
hunted vampires. And now
Amazing.
that I know that, it's amazing. So you can't learn that in books. You have to see it in the movies. And I think we talked about this recently the other day with biopics and how they don't just go over events in Adrenaline one person. I mean, excuse me, they don't just go over the total lifespan of they do like one particular event. Like when you look at like what Lincoln did. So to see this time period or whatever it is, I want to see more on the Revolution personally, but I don't know. Schnepp, how do you feel?
Yeah, I think I would love to see a movie 1776, like a big retelling.
Not the one with Pacino.
Well, yeah, a new version. Let's go with that. Just something like that could and factual as well. I don't need to puff it up. Let's just see what really happened. I think our history is really rich in bad decisions and in horror and in drama and in beauty and amazement. So it's like we should embrace America and our values. That's why we're all here. So I think it would be great to see a movie that embraces that.
And it would stimulate the economy in my hometown. I grew up in Williamsburg, Virginia. Yorktown's my backyard, and that's a great battle to tell. I mean, you're right. You don't have to. You can do a big sweeping epic about everything. You can gloss over, oh, this event happened, then this, and this, and do the entire war. There's so many little stories that are inside the war of people, a lot like what Turn's doing, where it's like, oh, that happened, and then that happened. That's a cool thing that is just you can focus on that with all these time period events in the background. So I don't know why everybody keeps going back to the World War II because it was more recent. So maybe as you go further back in history, people tend to get less interested. I don't know, but the Civil War seems to have a lot of films based on that. So it'd be nice to have more Revolutionary War films.
Yeah, I agree. All right, it's Twitter time. We go through the Twitter sphere, find out what you guys are asking. We've gone through a bunch of them, and Miss Mova's picked out a couple. What do we have?
Terrence Brown writes, do you think Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson could ever win an Oscar with a director like Steven Spielberg or David Fincher?
I don't think so. I love The Rock. I love Dwayne Johnson a lot, and it's not even that I don't think he has talent, because I think that movie Snitch, by the way, which I feel is underrated. I thought that was his best acting performance so far. And Faster, I know a lot of people liked him in that too.
I like Faster.
Yeah, a lot of people liked him in Faster as well. He's got chops for sure, but I also think that he's got. If it's hard for Leonardo DiCaprio to win an Oscar, the reason I think it's hard for The Rock is because he's always going to have that wrestling thing on him, and the Academy is having enough problems getting visions of certain actors out of their heads. It's going to be very hard for them to get The Rock out. It's nothing against his talent, because I think eventually if he works with the right director, he's a guy that works. He's a hard worker, but that's just me. Schnepp?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think The Rock cares about winning an Oscar. I mean, he's already won the hearts and minds of everyone on the planet. That's winning. So, I mean, here's this little thing. There you go. Yay. It's like that doesn't really matter, I think, to The Rock. I think it's like, look, he's going to keep getting better as an actor. He's going to keep exploring and doing different roles. He's always going to be an action hero or at least for the next 15 years. He's going to take other roles. He's going to do other things. Maybe he'll team up with a Spielberg or Fincher, or just an unknown director, or like a Goyen or someone else, like an extreme artist director. Who knows who's going to be the one that breaks him through and be like, oh my God, that was the role that that he won a Spirit Award for.
Right.
Hey, like any award, it doesn't just have to be an Oscar. But I don't think it's about awards. I think it's just about when you're an actor like The Rock, it's about enjoying yourself, exploring different possibilities, and giving the people what they want. He's definitely in tune with what people want him to be, how they perceive him, and he's good at exploring that. So
I want this to happen so bad, if for no other reason than for the speech. He would give the greatest Oscar acceptance speech of the entire Kodak Theater would smell what he's cooking. It would be epic. I don't think it's gonna happen. I mean, if I'm a betting man, and I would never bet on him to win an Oscar. If he played George Washington in our Revolutionary War biopic, it's about Kung Fu into the 1776, I could see it happening. But I mean, look, but who would have thought that Steve Carell would have got nominated a couple of years ago, or who would have thought that Jamie Foxx, when he was doing Living Color, would have got nominated for an Oscar? So you can have these big career turns in your life, and maybe he's the next guy to do it.
I'm sorry. I just. No,
that was so cute.
I had a joke. That's not important. You go.
I want to see him host the Oscars. I definitely want to see him host the Oscars, because you're talking about a guy who's got charisma, who has energy, can use that hard work until you want to get in the favor of the Academy. That guy can rock the Oscars. You know he could, and he'd be so much better than majority of people that have done it. So that's my 2 cents. You got the joke ready?
Yeah. Let me
everybody
rewind my energy.
John has something funny to say.
Hang on a second, guys. Yeah, I guess The Rock would be awesome as George Washington in Founding Fathers.
Ooh, Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter.
Bring them all together.
Snap Christian the
Let's grab another one. Ashley, what do you got?
All right. Malik Haywood writes, which is more difficult? A director rebooting a beloved franchise or an actor/actress taking the lead as a rebooted character?
Mark, what do you think?
I think that it's definitely tougher for an actor and actress because those are the people you see. I mean, behind the scenes, you can have a total tonal shift in making a film. Like you look at Joel Schumacher's Batmans versus Christopher Nolan's
Don't
Batmans.
make me look at those.
You're going to look at bat nipples and you're going to like it. But I think that as hard as it was to have, oh no, we're going to put this director, we're going to do this an entirely different spin on it. That might actually be the harder job, but as far as an audience perspective, you need to pull off, hey, now I'm this character. Christian Bale needs to say, now I'm Batman. Forget about Val Kilmer and George Clooney and Michael Keaton. I'm the guy now. I think that's harder to do, but it might benefit the franchise more to have a great director come in.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that it's a lot harder for actors to do it because when you think of the majority of the fury of fanboys on, it's been Ben Affleck's playing Batman or Jesse Eisenberg's playing Lex Luthor. Like people go crazy as opposed to like if you're a good director, people are going to give you the benefit of the doubt. If you're stinky
in his vision.
Yeah. Oh, maybe that'd be interesting for him.
Yeah.
Okay, look, I don't really think that should be remade, but the fact that Spielberg's doing it, okay, I can get behind it.
Ben Affleck's Batman.
Right, but it depends though. Also, because like you said, you could have certain because Ben Affleck has had hits and misses in his career.
You say that Ben Affleck's Batman? Yeah, Ben Affleck's Batman. Dear little kid be the Joker? I think that's a horrible idea.
Look at Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah.
Who is a quality actor. Oscar.
He's bald now, too.
Right. But people went nuts, and I was one of them when he got cast. Now, you look at people, if you have a crap director, like if what's his face? Well, we always use Michael Bay, so let's use Michael Bay. Michael Bay was up for rebooting Rocky. People would lose their minds.
Yeah, I'd be a little nervous.
Yeah, but if Ashton Kutcher was cast as Rocky, what would be the biggest? What would be the bigger one?
I would have some misgivings.
You would have more misgivings with Ashton Kutcher. You'd want to leave the country if you heard that was happening in general. But if Michael Bay directed Rocky remake with Ashton Kutcher, what would you be more upset with?
We'll just give America's rights back to the British at that point. You know what? We had a good run. You guys get it back.
We're obviously doing things wrong here.
Yeah, it's the first time people will be like, just bring back Rocky 5. I'll watch Rocky 5. Okay. All right, what's next?
Ben Brown writes,
Wait, I didn't get to chime in.
Sorry.
Thanks a lot, guys.
I don't think Batman should be played by Ben Affleck. I think Batman should be played by Ernest
Ernest Borgnine?
You know what? No, I think it's a combination of the two. You have to, like, if you look at Ben Affleck, he was in Daredevil, and it's like people were like, he's going to be horrible in Daredevil. And then the guy Johnson who did Ghost Rider, he did Daredevil. It wasn't horrible. It just wasn't as great as everybody wanted it to be. So I think it's like, it depends on the synergy and like who's coming in as a director, and if they have a vision, and then if they have a great actor attached to that, then that actor has to, like, they're taking over and rebooting a character in their own perspective. So it's a combination of the two, I think.
Do you think it's more of a happy? So you don't think there's one sways more than the other?
I don't. I honestly think it's the energy between everyone on set, and that's. I mean, you see the energy from the actor because they're in front of the camera, but everybody involved, the hair and makeup, the costume, the producers, every single person involved in a movie, they're integral to the energy of that film and why it's either good or bad.
Energy, it surrounds us, it penetrates us, it binds the galaxy.
What I'm trying to talk about are midi-chlorians, guys. I had to say.
Ruin the moment. All right, Ashley, what's the last one?
all right. Ben Brown writes, why aren't there more movies about MMA? Warrior is an underrated movie, and Never Back Down is a guilty movie to me.
I would love to see more movies about MMA because I want to see a more. The only one we got that was really UFC endorsed was that the Kevin James one.
Yeah,
which wasn't horrible.
I actually like that movie. No, it was surprising.
Because you could tell what UFC has been so great at doing is marketing their brand, knowing how to portray their brand, and they actually did it well in that. What was that movie called?
It was not called Paul Blart Mall
Whatever
Cop, so don't get that confused with the other movie. But it was good. Yeah,
yeah, and it was fine. And it didn't turn like when I was a big wrestling fan back in the day. Like Ready to Rumble was a movie I thought which just didn't portray the wrestling business as the way it was. That movie did, and Warrior certainly did. Warrior is the best. I didn't love Red Belt, which is a David Mamet movie. Some people really loved it. I really disliked it a lot.
You need to put fighting in a movie about fighting.
Yeah, no, well, but what these movies, these MMA movies did for a long time was that there was always like a crime element it's like I was like, yeah, there's the sport, but then there's gangsters in the
It's
background.
like Lionheart. There's always dudes
Yes,
holding dollar
yes.
bills. Like, I bet on this, and now I'm gonna go punch a woman and do drugs.
It's a sport. It's a sport that has overtaken boxing as like it's the #1 physical combat sport, and it's like I want to see more. I want to see a story about like this. It's guys who have fascinating stories. I know they did one with Matt Hamill, who was he was deaf, and he did the I think actually. Matt Hamilton, and then there's another one that Frank Mir is another guy, ex-heavyweight champion, who has a fascinating story. There's so many stories that they could tell, whether it be the true live events or even how it works that people don't know about MMA could do. But that's just me.
I think it's ripe for a great story, like a behind-the-scenes story that doesn't involve crime, but just involves people training, and like you get to know all the different people and why they're involved and why they wanted to get into that ring and fight the savage fight of MMA. It's really, truly a really tough training to be an MMA fighter. It's all of the disciplines are all there. So.
There's something about watching two boxers. That's why it's called the sweet science. There's just something about seeing that on screen that cinematically I think is a lot more appealing than the style that MMA fights happen in. I think that just there's dudes grabbing onto each other. I know there's a lot of technical proficiency. Warrior did, but that was all about the story as opposed to the actual fights looked good, but that wasn't what sold me on the movie. That's not why I loved it. I loved the fight scenes, but the better parts of those movies to me were the interactions with the characters.
But that's the point.
You could do that again.
Yeah.
What I would be, but I think that what I would be more interested in with the UFC movie, to be honest, is the way that the UFC came to prominence. Is Dana White behind the scenes? I think that'd be more of like a biopic thing for somebody who's. I'm not an MMA fan, just because visually to my eye, it just doesn't strike me as enjoyable to watch the same way boxing does.
Oh. All right, guys, that's going to do it. Thank you for joining us. I'd like to thank the panel today. First, on my left, John Schnepp. Where can the people find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at John Schnepp and at TDOSLWH. Egyptian Theater, The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened, the red carpet premiere, April 30th. May 1st, we'll be playing at the Egyptian. Come on down if you live in Los Angeles.
And to my right, Mark Ellis. Mark, where are you performing next?
It doesn't matter where I'm performing next, because tonight I'm going to see a band performing called Van Halen on Hollywood Boulevard. Follow me at 5150Ls on Twitter and Instagram. I'll be posting pictures of it. I can't wait to see the greatest hard rock band in the planet.
And our lovely host, I called her Movinator, probably no one else will, Ashley Mova.
I'm
Ashley,
into the Movinator. I buy the Movinator.
Thank you. Where can they find you?
Twitter, Instagram, at Ashley Mova. Happy Monday, guys.
And me, pretty easy, at Christian Harloff on both Twitter and Instagram. We are taking AMC Jedi Council questions, so make sure you hashtag AMC Jedi Council. Thank you for watching that. Make sure you check out Heroes as well.
And hashtag questions, because we're doing them tomorrow.
Uh-oh, there you go. So thank you very much for joining us, and Campy will be back tomorrow. Peace out.
Hey everyone, if you like this video, click that thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It's free and helps you stay up to date with all the latest movie news, as well as our daily AMC Movie Talk show. Also, make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with all of our special promotions, contests, and prize giveaways.